hover over there, so that's very good for team play. And so he's got his bazooka man trying to sneak forward, but he's going to have a tough time because these riflemen are just crouched in the middle of the field doing God knows what. I just hate it when my ally has stuff like lying around for some unfathomable reason, and it's like, you know, I can't sneak past because these guys are going to see me, but you know, they're not doing anything, so really they ought to be moving, so maybe I want to wait around until they move, but they're not moving, and you see he tried to get his AT gun, maybe shoot them, or maybe he's thinking of shooting someone else with his AT gun, but in any case, he's way out of range. There's this tank thing in the way. Surprisingly, his bazooka man seems to be making it behind the Tiger without being spotted. He's incredibly lucky neither. Oh god, that's not good. That's a half-track full of people. Wow, and there you go. You get close enough and the bazooka just owns it. Bazooka, of course, does not lose power over range. None of these shaped charges lose power over range because the propellant is just to get them through the air. The actual damage is done by the crazy molten liquid metal that shoots out of the warhead when it impacts something. I have no idea how that works, but apparently it does work, and that's how it does it. So you can fire it from any distance away, and as long as you hit, it'll do the damage. And God knows what that half-track's doing, but he managed to knock out the engine. It looks like the people in the back are still fine, so they should be getting out of that anytime soon. Maybe they already got out because he's sighting in on this tree. And I just got a message from Lollybo. Warren Buffett is going to donate 99% of his net worth to charity. Well, that's impressive. That is impressive. But when you're that rich, 1% of your net worth will keep you set for the rest of your life. So these guys ran into the building after dismounting from the half-track, but running into buildings is a very, very risky proposition. You have to go very slowly or toss grenades every step of the way. Otherwise, anyone inside the building is probably going to rip you to shreds. I mean, if you just think about it, if you've ever seen, like, I don't know, SWAT teams or something, how extremely careful they are every time they're moving through a building, it's because the advantage definitely goes to the defender, who the second, they fixed Tiger, that's not good, the hull is crushed, but the Tiger was not destroyed, so they can fix it up. That's because the advantage typically goes to the defender in a building. Someone runs in a doorway, and it's just, bam, you shoot them in the face, and someone else runs in a doorway, bam, you shoot him in the face. Of course, if he's a flamethrower, that's a different question. Whoa, that's explosions, his allies bought a Calliope, and he's just hitting the center. That's certainly an option. Destroys the... Whoa, he bombarded again! This is overkill. I'm not sure he really needs to do this, but at some point when I wasn't watching, Tachometer bought a Pershing giant tank. So there's that. Not a big fan of huge tanks, especially when he's not really using it for anything, but, you know, that's his choice. And look at that, he capped the left-hand point back, and so now they're going to have to take it back from him, and he's moving his riflemen off the point because he knows they're going to be headed there soon. So you got to get out of there. And his ally is letting him know that the middle is clear, which I can understand why it would be clear. He just barraged it with a Calliope twice. And Lollybo says he's still going to be loaded after that. Yep, that's what I just said to you guys. So, yep. All right. Aside from my conversations, what else is going on? Not a whole lot. They are fixing that Tiger. The question is, are they going to move in and be able to take the Tiger out before it is fixed? And there goes the Stug. Do not one-on-one a Pershing from the front unless you are extremely confident that you can... just don't do it, unless you have like a Tiger or a Panther or something, obviously. But with a Stug, more of an assault gun than anything, certainly go for the side hit on a Pershing. Take out its tread with somebody, maybe even the Stug, and then just drive around to where the Pershing's not going to hit you. Or ideally, don't even engage it in tank combat. Heavy tanks like this, you're best off attacking it with some sort of bazooka like Tachometer did. And that building's on fire, which is what happens when flamethrowers get into the mix. Things will burn, and they will burn forever. Looks like that was probably an AT grenade, and the second AT grenade, or about to be a second AT grenade before that guy got set on fire, but he's just trying to blow this building open to get at the flamethrower man, and he got it! The guy died from world crush, which means debris fell on him, and he's even picking up the flamethrower. I'd love to see that. Although, things are getting pretty ugly. Puma just owned by the Pershing. This Pershing is doing some serious damage like heavy tanks are wont to do, but it hasn't moved in a while, so that would be worrying if he had anything to worry about, but there's not much that can hurt. He's a Pershing from the front, except maybe a bazooka, but of course you have to get close enough. Or a Panzerfaust, or Panzer Schreck, of course, is what we would talk about because we're fighting the Germans, and I don't know what the heck that was. That was a Panzerwerfer. Okay, so Very quickly the rocket artillery comes out on both sides. The gloves are off and they're slapping each other with rockets, which is a approximation of what we spent the Cold War doing with the Soviets. That and trying to race to the moon. And Cuba. We blockaded Cuba. That was fun. Who remembers that? Nobody. Everyone's dead now. Alright, so there's a bunch of craters in the middle now from all these rocket impacts, so that's going to make it much easier for people defending to hang around in these craters. And actually it's going to give attackers a lot of cover too. It's just going to make life a lot easier for infantry. I imagine the moon is probably one of the best places on Earth to fight if you're infantry, because there's so many craters around. One of the other best places on Earth would be Mars, I think. Lots of craters on Mars. Although those are more like giant craters, it seems like a lot of the time. Like huge craters, and those aren't good, because it's like you can't exactly take cover in a huge crater, because then they just take cover in the huge crater instead of normal firefight. So that building is on fire! Look at that. Fire in Men of War has done really well. Trying to think of other games that have done fire as well as Men of War. I guess Far Cry 2 did fire extremely well, which is one of two things it did extremely well. The other thing it did extremely well was realistically depicting what malaria would be like if malaria wasn't at all like it is today. And it looks like a Panzerwerfer decrewed this AT gun, but luckily no rocket hit it. What other games do fire well? SimCity 2000, that did fire extremely well, not because it was realistic, but because it was exciting. What other games did fire well? Well, I don't know. Men of War does fire extremely well. This building's going to burn for a while. Probably parts of it are going to collapse, and then the fire's probably going to go out. You set a bush on fire off, and it'll spread to the next bush. And this Pershing is having trouble against the Hetzer, even though it has a giant gun, because the Hetzer has extremely slow... Holy crap. Took a lot of tank crewmen out, and a submachine gun infantry dude, but not much else. So, Pershing's having trouble against the Hetzer, even though it's got a giant gun, because the Hetzer has extremely sloped armor. It just causes shells to reflect right off it, and ricochet into somebody who is having a very bad day. Immediately, once the shell hits them. And, is he gonna buy another Pershing? I hope not. He's reading these stats, trying to figure out. Maybe trying to take out this Hetzer without having to do anything except fire at it from the front. He did reposition his Pershing, though, to try and get a side hit, but it looks like there's a corpse of a Puma blocking it. Another thing we've seen a fair amount is him using his riflemen to set up these little sandbag emplacements, like very individual sandbags instead of a long string of sandbags. There's advantages and disadvantages to this. The advantages to this are that you don't pin yourself down to one place. Your opponent never knows which little tiny sandbag thing has people behind it and which doesn't, especially because sandbags can accommodate more than one person. You can easily fit like 3 or 4 guys in one little strip of sandbags. And it also lets you, of course, choose a lot of different locations for your sandbags and get a lot of different things. The downside is that it's very easy to dismantle one set of sandbags, whereas if you have a whole line, you can always just move slightly to the left or right when your sandbags disintegrate. And of course, eventually you won't be able to fit a lot of people. And but yeah, it's nice to spread them out. Of course, a big line of sandbags can provide protection for more than just the people immediately behind it. It can sort of give you a whole defensive thing. And I don't know what done baby means, but here comes a Panzer. Kaboom! Yeah, these guys are just driving tanks around and then they're getting bazookaed. So, you know, that's a thing that happens quite a bit in Men of War. If you're not going to support your tanks with infantry, you better be ready to lose them. And lose them they are. Oh, and looks like this guy repaired 2 German scout cars, is what he was talking about. He's done repairing those 2 German scout cars. So that's fun. Everyone likes repairing German things, don't they? I've always wondered how the crew is so easily able to adapt to the enemy vehicles. It's like, you get inside and all the dials and gauges, dials and gauges are labeled like Achtung, Garfuten, Hunsen, Kaiser, Helm. And then you're like, I don't know what that does, and you pull it and then the thing explodes. So that's what I figure would happen if I was in a German vehicle. But apparently these guys have all had training on every German vehicle, and all the Germans have had training on every American vehicle, and everybody's got training on every other vehicle because they managed to work things out pretty well.